Good morning, Purdue University and listeners around the country. Welcome to Next Point Wins. My name is Matthew Julie. First full weekend of football in the books. We'll have plenty of recap of what happened all show long. Also joining us, excited to announce, joining us on the show today at about 10:30, so about 30 minutes from now, we'll have Clinton Cole. Clinton Cole, a member of the Future Sox and the Loop Sports podcast in Chicago, also the founder of Deep Dish West Lafayette here in Purdue country. So he is a very knowledgeable man when it comes to Purdue sports and also Chicago sports. And we'll get his take on some baseball, some Purdue football, some football in general, and some White Sox farm system news and notes as well, because it's one of the most exciting farm systems in all of the MLB, and it kind of can help. I think listeners who maybe aren't White Sox fans can use it as a way of just getting knowledge on how it all works just in general with the minor league system. So we'll have him on here in a little while. Looking forward to that. Really glad he could take some time to sit down with us and kind of hash things out. Well, I don't know if you guys probably can't tell from listening, but if you're watching, I'm a little, I don't know if obsessed is the right word. I guess deflated is a good word to describe how I feel. It wasn't the greatest weekend when it comes to me and sports, and it's a real shame because it's not every day that you get to sit down on Saturday and watch football almost constantly until Monday night we'll call it Tuesday morning, like at 3 a.m. when the final game finally got over. But, I didn't have fun. And that's a shame because, it's normally a special time for me. First football full weekend. Usually I sit down, grab a couple beverages, maybe make some wings, which I did, and just have fun. And nothing was fun about it. Absolutely nothing. It starts on Saturday where the Boilermakers fell to Eastern Michigan. And you know what? Let's just start there because I understand why people are mad. Let's start there because I was fortunate enough to be up in the press box where I was dry and I was warm and I was having a lovely time. But I understand that not everybody had that pleasure. And so if I was standing out in the rain for 3 hours watching below average football, I'd be upset too. So let's start there. Your concerns and anger are valid. Should we jump ship yet? That's an honest question. Should we be jumping ship? I would say not quite. Now, every expert, what makes somebody an expert, I don't know. But everybody who decided to go out on a limb and predict Purdue's football record this season had us about 5-7, 6-6, or 7-5. Right in that's the window that Purdue Sports was in. Whoever had us at 5-7, whoever had us at 6-6, and whoever had us at 7-5 had this last game as one of those wins. So, you got to go win one, at least. You probably need to get 2 now. You probably got to steal 2 if you want to make a bowl game. And it's unfortunate because it's the third week of the season, and we're already talking about what we have to do to make a bowl. Like right now, we should be 1-1, 2-0, anything but 0-2, and it's just happy-go-lucky. Let's see who we can go in and compete with. And that's the problem is we competed with Northwestern. We did not play a clean game. I was on the record saying we didn't play very smart. We didn't play clean. But we were in the game. Down to the last minute, we were in the game. Speaking of which, Northwestern gets thumped by Duke. That's not good. Maybe Northwestern's not as good as we thought. Not great. Okay, let's pause on that one. Anyways, now we come into week 2 and we don't play well. We play sloppy, and we get beat by just not a good Eastern Michigan team. I mean, they're picked to finish 4th in the MAC. They lost their quarterback who went to the draft. He was a superstar on Hard Knocks for the Cleveland Browns, that Rogan dude. Or Brogan. Yeah, whatever. So, I mean, it's just, it wasn't good. It wasn't good. Both quarterbacks, okay. Sindelar, 8 of 14. threw a touchdown, 87 yards. Blau, 6 of 10, 48 yards. I mean, I'm not writing home about it. Okay, it was pouring down rain. I get it. Not an excuse. Coach Brom said after the game in the press conference, I will echo it. Not an excuse. Both teams were in the rain. DJ Knox, 21 carries, 152 yards, touchdown. Markel Jones, 12 carries, 109 yards. I mean, we could run the ball all day, but then we get across the 50-yard line and we would just penalties, mistakes, fumble the football, excessive celebration penalty on a long touchdown run that keeps us from going for 2 and getting up 3, where it would be 2020 and going into overtime, not 2019 final upset. Sacking the quarterback and then feeling the need to use him to get up, throwing a 15-yard penalty. Giving up a first down on 4th and 20-something that would have ended the game. I mean, it's just over and over again. We just can't clean up our play and get over the hump. So, that's that. Now, that's it for negative. Let's look ahead. What do we got to do? Well, it starts this weekend. We get 4 home games in a row against 3 really good teams and 1 so-so team, and we're 0-2, and it was to a good team and a so-so team. We're 0-2. You know what? A lot of people would say Eastern Michigan's a bad team. That's just plain and simple. You can call them so-so, you can call them bad. They're not great. They're not. So now you face a good team, a really good team, actually, and then you got another really, really good team coming in 2 weeks. You got to protect home field. And this is where it gets interesting. And this is where, as a Purdue football fan, I'm going to try to spark a little hope and spark a little hype into you to get you out to the game Saturday night. And you know what? For everybody saying, I don't want to go anymore, that's crap to me. Like, that is just, I can't even begin to comprehend how somebody could feel that way, because let me get the hype train going. Let me get this fired up for you. All right, we're 0-2. You got to steal 2. Guess what? You got 2 teams coming to town these next 2 weekends that you can steal it from. You get out of this 2-2, you're right back in the hunt to make a bowl. You're right back in the hunt, because then you got Nebraska and Illinois, which are winnable games. That gets you to 4, with still Iowa, Minnesota, and Indiana on the schedule, where you got to get 2 of those 3. And that's thinking that we're probably going to get thumped by Ohio State, Michigan State, Wisconsin. But that's beside the point. My point is, you got to steal these 2. Have to. It's a must. You must steal these 2. Because if you get these 2, then you can avoid having to go win at Michigan State or trying to shock the world and beat Ohio State or Wisconsin at home. Like, those 2 games can be nothing to lose games. Right now, these are like Missouri's a must go. We got to go. And you know what? They're a really good team. Their offensive line is phenomenal. They've yet to give up a sack. So we got to find a way to get pressure. Their run game is phenomenal, and that's because they have a good offensive line. Those 2 things kind of go together. Defense plays well. I mean, this is a really good football team. They are. And Boston College comes in next weekend, and they're even better. So it quickly turns into, we got to go now. It's going to be a beautiful night Saturday. The weather looks phenomenal all day. It's a perfect day to be out in the intramural fields, tailgating all day long, watching football from your cars on some flat screens, drinking a couple cold ones, and just enjoying the day, and then getting into Ross-Ade that night, packing that place under the lights, and get a W. That's all it is. We got to get a W. And you know what? I believe Coach Brom. And I believe when he says there's a problem and he's going to fix it. Because you know what? He came in with a huge problem. And that was, we were not a good program. Horrible tradition from the last few years, and things were not going our way. So you know what? He said, that's a problem. I'm going to come in and fix it. And he did. So now he has a new problem. And his problem is he's got a young team. He's got a team that's undisciplined, that's still kind of stuck in those high school mentality of, I'm going to go get mine a little bit. Every once in a while you see that. And you know what? I believe he's gonna find a way to nip it and get it out of there. He said in his post-game press conference, I got to find the guys who want to be here and who want to play and do it our way. And then I have to find the guys who don't. And I got to separate. That's all it is, plain and simple. I guarantee this was not a very fun week of practice. I guarantee you it was very physical, very high intensity, getting back to Purdue football the way Coach Brom brought it in. And I fully expect that to transition to Saturday night. I don't know if I've convinced you, but I convinced myself, which is half the battle. I really have. Tweet at me at nextptwin. Email me at nextptwins@gmail.com. Tweet at me, Matt_Gigli, Gigli. Let me know how you feel going into this weekend. Send me your predictions. Anything you want to talk about, questions, comments, concerns, throw them my way. Happy to hear from you. If you missed any part of this show, you can catch it on YouTube and on SoundCloud at Next Point Wins. That's where you'll find the podcast version of the show. So if you have to head off to class before we get Clinton Cole in here in about 15 minutes, go back and check it out on the podcast. It's a great way to, listen back to the show and catch up on what you missed or re-listen to your favorite moments. Got my picks for this weekend coming up. Didn't do so hot last week. Went 1-2, so that wasn't exactly great. I'll give you those after we talk to Clinton. And it's interesting to see what he'll have to say. Sorry, I'm trying to read as we go. Okay, we gotta move on. I'm reading some emails here, and people are fired up, and I get that. But we're gonna move on. Let's just hold out hope for one more week. It's go time. So hopefully we can get it going and take care of business against Missouri. So thanks for contacting the show, and let me know if there's anything I can do to help you. All right, so let's go NFL because, well, that was fun. Yeah, let's talk NFL. Where should we begin? I'm not going to begin with the Bears because I'll get too fired up and we'll not talk about any other team. So let's go. I'm gonna kind of survey the games around the NFL and kind of give you some of the highlights and news and notes that I watched and saw that I was like, that's interesting. We'll start with the game Thursday night, Atlanta-Philadelphia. Snooze fest, boring, flags everywhere, very concerning. Both teams didn't look very good. Thought Atlanta would be better. They got to figure out how to score in the red zone. This whole Julio Jones jump ball stuff, I just don't get. You got a really good running back. You probably should run the ball every once in a while and, maybe find another weapon or find another guy who's going to be single coverage when Julio Jones has two guys draped over him and you throw a lob ball to the corner of the end zone where it's almost impossible for him to catch it and get his feet down, especially since he's shown his hands are kind of questionable in that area. Come on, offensive coordinator. Let's clean that up. What else did I see? Minnesota looked good. Love Kirk D. Cousins. Kirk D. is good. Minnesota's a tough team. It's a good team in the NFC North. Colts-Bengals was interesting, back and forth. Andrew Luck looked all right. Didn't look great, but he looked improved. He looked healthy. That's a Colts team that probably needs to find a little bit more of an identity, especially running the ball. I know you had Mack out, but that's a team that maybe relying a little too much on Andrew Luck at the moment. So that's not a great Cincinnati team they lost to either, especially at home. Not a great look. Baltimore looked really good, but Buffalo looked really bad, so take that with a grain of salt. Baltimore comes up on our Thursday night game. Tomorrow night, Saints looked bad. Saints surprised me. You don't get torched by Fitzpatrick. That's just not something that people do. You don't just go out there and say, let's let Ryan Fitzpatrick absolutely torch us up. Not normally the move, but the Saints did it. And, I heard all offseason about how improved the Saints defense was going to be because year in and year out, that defense keeps them from really going for it. I mean, Drew Brees is so good. And he had another great game, but that defense can't stop anybody. They lose 48-40 just in a shootout to Fitzpatrick. Never did I see that coming. Jacksonville 2015 over the Giants. I like the Giants. I think the Giants are fun to watch. I don't know if they're good enough yet. You still got Eli Manning back there trying to sling that ball around, but I like the Giants. Pittsburgh-Cleveland was entertaining from start to finish. It was my favorite game of the weekend, and there's a lot of reasons for it. And the first one, which is so stupid, but it's so true, it's that Hard Knocks. I wish I would have watched Hard Knocks years ago. I love it. I loved every second of it, and now I'm turning into a Browns fan. I like watching the Cleveland Browns because I'm seeing all these guys that are talking. Like every time Landry caught a ball, I was going bless him. I mean, just stuff like that. It's just fun. I was asking my brother where Kajus was out on the field when he was cut from the team. Spoiler alert, yikes. I liked Cleveland. I thought they played well. They still did some Browns things there at the end, but you know what? Pittsburgh goes, I'll raise you your Browns ways, and I'll do some Browns things myself. Nothing like a good old 21-21 tie. That's a bad tie for Pittsburgh. Is that possible? To have a bad tie? I mean, there's bad losses. Are there bad ties? If there's ever been a bad tie, it's right now. That was a bad tie. You got to win that game. I know it's in Cleveland, and I know they're hyped up, but you got to win that game. Who does Cleveland have this week? I would love to see Cleveland. Ooh, at the Saints? Yikes. All right, here's the test. If Cleveland scores more than 30 points against the Saints defense, the Saints should have to quit the season. So if Cleveland goes over, we'll say 30.5. That way there's no ties. If Cleveland scores more than 30.5 points, the Saints should have to quit the NFL for the season. They should have to just mail it in. And Drew Brees should be allowed to join any team he wants in the league. And the Saints should have to quit because, boy, that defense is bad. Man. Patriots took care of business against the Texans. Sean Watson had a really bad first half. He came back and did all right in the second half, but that's something to keep an eye on after the hype train that was going last year before he got hurt. He just looked rusty. He looked kind of lost out there. If you watch Tennessee and Miami, it's because they were in a rain delay forever. And after that was over, there was like a little gap in between the afternoon games and the night game. So I was watching a little bit just because there's nothing else on. But I would not want to watch that game. Kansas City looked good. What's up, Mahomes? Torching the Chargers. Never saw that coming either. Thought the Chargers were supposed to be the real deal. They didn't look good in week 1. Who does Chargers have this week, Matt? Chargers have at Buffalo. So they'll get their first win in the season, almost guaranteed against Buffalo. Buffalo's horrible. But yeah, Chargers didn't look as good as I thought they would. Let's see. Dallas is bad, and I think we all predicted that. Thing about Dallas is, and the part that I don't get is like, is this a surprise? You let Witten retire. You let Dez Bryant go. You bring in nobody to replace either one of them. And you think that a team is not going to stack 7 guys in the box to stop Zeke and make you throw that football to nobody with an unproven quarterback who had really one good year. And that one good year had a lot to do with how great that offensive line was and how well they could run the ball. And how many weapons he had. You take away his weapons, offensive line is still great, but they're loading the box and they're begging Dak to throw the ball. Begging him. Not good. I don't see it getting much better either until they figure out what they're going to do at the wide receiver core because it's not good. All right, before I have Clinton on, I got to get this off my chest. Let's talk Bears. Let's talk Packers because I've seen this movie, and I said this at halftime. And I have witnesses to say that I said this at halftime. I've bought a ticket to this movie so many times, and I just continue to do it, and it drives me up a wall. Oh, I saw this coming from a mile away. Oh, a mile away. So bad. We looked so bad in that second half. That first half of football was one of the most fun halves of football, watching Bears football I have ever had in my life. It took me back to, I can't remember the last time I was so entertained. Offense, defense, just firing on all cylinders. The offense was fun. Khalil Mack out there making plays. Roquan Smith coming in and getting a sack. Just guys flying to the football. Clean half. Hardly any penalties. It was amazing. You knock Aaron Rodgers out of the game. And then he comes back. And I knew it when he came back. I go, this guy, he's going to be good. We have to score at least 10 points in the second half, or else we're going to lose this game. I knew it. We got in that fourth quarter. I'm like, we are in deep, 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 deep trouble. Deep trouble. I can't believe we let him come back in that game and torch us down the field. Big plays, too. Chunk plays. That's stuff we didn't see last year out of this defense. He was getting the ball out quick before anybody could get to him, and we could not tackle or cover Randall Cobb to save our life. Prince got picked on by Devontae Adams one series, and then Randall Cobb did the rest of the work, and it was tough to watch. That last drive, I was in my apartment, and the fire alarm went off as the Bears were trying to drive down the field to win the game. I wasn't leaving, so I sat in my room and watched it as the fire alarms are going off, ready to leave as soon as the game was over. And I was like, you know what? Part of me just says, if this thing goes down in flames, that's God's plan for me, because I was in a dark place. I was in a dark place, and I saw a really, really bad half of football, and it really, really bothered me. Really bothered me. Couldn't believe it. And then you go to Monday night. Lions are bad. It made me feel bad about the Bears after watching the Lions play the Jets. Holy crap. I feel bad for Patricia. I mean, you go from the Patriots to that. I hope that paycheck is nice. I hope your house is nice. I hope you have a nice car and you are very comfortable and happy, because there's no way when you get to the office you're happy. Like after you leave, like when you leave the office, I bet you're not. I hope there's enough money and toys and fun activities for you at home and outside of the workplace. I hope you have a boat. I hope you have a mansion, because it would take a lot for me to leave that Lions practice facility and go home and feel better about myself in time before I have to go back the next day to work, because that is a bad team. Wow. Really bad team. You know who had a really bad weekend besides Matt Patricia and the Lions? John Gruden. John Gruden got tore up on Twitter Sunday night during the Bears game because of Khalil Mack just going nuts. And then he turns around and gets thumped by the Rams, which isn't a surprise. Rams are really good, but Oakland did not look good. And he said to the game, we had to work on our pass rush. Not the greatest thing to say, Mr. Gruden, old Chucky. I wouldn't bring up anything to do with the defensive line or pass rush for like at least 4 or 5 weeks, because I think that's a really sensitive subject for a lot of Raiders fans out there, because, well, you had a good pass rush, but then you let him get traded. Doesn't add up. So that was not a good look for Chucky in week 1. He'll try to rebound in week 2. Some highlighted games to look at for week 2 in the NFL season, and then we'll step away and come back with Clinton. Let's see. So I said Thursday night, Baltimore and Cincinnati. I'll have my prediction for that coming up. Actually, let's do those predictions now before I have Clinton on. That way I don't let him persuade me one way or another on some of these picks, because I've been known to give in to peer pressure, and he's a much smarter man than I am. So let's get these rocked out here real quick. So last week I went 1-2. Not good. Got a couple more games on the slate this week. We're going to do five pick'ems this week. So first up, LSU at Auburn. I'm going to take Auburn at home. That's a ranked matchup. Should be a good game. Ed O has the Tigers playing well. I don't think well enough to beat Auburn. I think Auburn wins by 6. That by 6 is a pretty big part, if you know what I mean. Entertainment purposes only. Boise State at Oklahoma State. I'll take Boise State on the road. Shocking Oklahoma State. People have picked Boise State, and by people I mean me, before the season as the non-conference, kind of like the UCF. The team that probably could go undefeated and just not have enough quality wins to be in the playoff conversation, but not have enough big wins to get in the playoff. But they're a team that's probably going to play a big school and have a chance to, kind of like UCF did, their own little national championship game where they get a chance to show that they compete with the big boys. I think Boise State's that team, and this is their best game on the schedule, and I think they can beat Oklahoma State, and I think they do. Ohio State at TCU. That's a big game. No Urban Meyer. I think that makes a difference in this game, and it's close, but I think the Ohio State wins by 8. Austin Mack had all my Fort Wayne listeners. There's a really good article out on Austin Mack. I'll tweet it out so you can click on the link. This is courtesy of Bob from Cromwell. Bob, a longtime listener of the show, and I appreciate him sending this my way. It just talks about how he's Austin Mack's catching passes from Dwayne Haskins, which is his roommate and best friend. And this is something that we heard about from Austin when he was on our show last year, talking about how, that connection's kind of already there because of, they live together. And hopefully we'll have Austin on again this year. I'm going to try to work on it, but I would love to have him on the week before he comes to town to play Purdue if he has some time available. So we'll try to get that set up here in the upcoming weeks to have him on before the big Purdue-Ohio State showdown here in West Lafayette. But yeah, really good article out on it. Really cool story. So thanks again, Bob from Cromwell, for emailing that to the show. And if you're like Bob and you have something you want me to read or talk about or send out for people, you can email me as well. It's nextptwins@gmail.com. I do read your emails, I promise. Everybody out there. It's just sometimes you guys are a little bit angry, and we have to be careful on how angry we are on this show. Okay, back to my picks. So I'm going to take the Buckeyes by 8 to beat TCU. Missouri travels to Purdue. I should have picked this game right after I got done with my big spiel about Purdue and gotten myself all confident and fired up. I'm going to stick with it. Purdue by 3. We got to go now, boys. Come on. Purdue by 3. Help us, please. And last but not least, I'm going to throw in an NFL special, Thursday night game, Ravens at Bengals. I don't know why I threw in that NFL game because it's not really a good one. I don't think the Bengals are any good. Ravens beat up on a bad Buffalo team, but I think the Ravens are all right. So give me the Ravens by 3. Those are my picks of the week. We will look back next week on to see how many of those I lost. Probably quite a few. And we'll go from there. All right, I'm going to step aside here for a quick break, get Clinton on the line, and we'll be back with him and an interview coming up next on Next Point Wins. Welcome back here on Next Point Wins, and I'm excited to bring into the turntable today to join us. His name is Clinton Cole. He is a TCU board operator for IMG Audio. He also works with the Loop Sports and Future Sox as a podcast host, and he is one of the founders of Deep Dish West Lafayette here in town. If you ever need any good Purdue sporting news and takes, Deep Dish West Lafayette is phenomenal. So, Clinton, thanks for joining us. How are you doing today?
I'm good, Matt. How are you?
I'm doing well. Thanks again for coming on. So we're going to kind of cover a lot of topics here because, you kind of make your way around in different sports and different types of coverage. But I want to start with baseball, and I want to start with White Sox. And, you had the big news last week about Michael Kopech getting shut down with the injury, probably out all next year. How big of a blow is this to the White Sox and this whole rebuild process, do you think?
Well, I think it's for the fans. It's much worse because they traded Chris Sale for the two big pieces, Moncada, and then Kopech also got Basabe, but he's a year or two away. But people see that Moncada is struggling a lot, and then they're banking on Kopech, and now Kopech's out for a year, and then you've got Chris Sale's going to be a free agent next year too. So it's like they traded Chris Sale for those guys, and those guys aren't even really doing much. Still, Chris Sale's going to be a free agent. They could have gotten him back. I don't know. It's kind of a what do I want to say here? It's a bad situation, I guess, for Sox fans. The Sox organization, I guess, they're not as worried because they've got such depth with the pitchers.
Yeah.
Dylan Cease this year, man. MLB Pipeline Pitcher of the Year, the guy that got from the Cubs in the Quintana trade. There's so many good arms in the White Sox system that, it's obviously a setback because Kopech's one of the best pitching prospects in baseball. But at the same time, they do have a lot of depth.
Yeah, and just the fact that they bring him up and he gets a couple games on TV and you finally get to see him throw if you're not like familiar with the minor league system, and then you lose him. It's like you just get a little taste of it and then it's just taken away from you. It's interesting to see who does step up next year in that rotation. Do you think this is a team that contends next year, or is this still 2, 3, 4 years away?
I would say if they had Kopech next year, it would have been a different story.
Yeah.
I don't know. They're still. I think if they had Kopech next year, they could have been around 500. I'm thinking, maybe 75 wins next year, and then in 2020, I could bump that up to 85 and kind of contend for a wild card is kind of what I'm thinking.
Looking across all of the MLB, which teams look like to you they've separated themselves as serious contenders here come playoff time to contend for a World Series?
It's anybody's guess in the National League. Absolutely anybody's guess. It might be the Cubs. And then the Cubs may collapse here. They may not even win their division. So, I mean, it's very difficult to say. In the East, the Braves are very strong, but they're young. In the NL West, you've got three teams right there. You got the Rockies, the Diamondbacks, and the Dodgers. So you've got the Rockies, Diamondbacks, and Dodgers in the West. You got the Cubs, Brewers, and Cardinals in the Central. That's 6 different teams right there. And then, of course, the Braves in the East. So there's 7 teams. Out of those 7 teams, I have no idea who is going to make maybe even the NLCS. I don't even know. I would say my money would be on the Cubs to get there to the NLCS. I have no idea who they're going to play, though, because I could say they're going to play the Dodgers, and the Dodgers may not even make the playoffs. So it's very – I have no idea. In the American League, I would be very surprised if the Astros and Red Sox did not make the ALCS. The Red Sox they're on pace for the most regular season wins they've ever had. And the Astros, they're plugging right along too. I mean, the Indians are a decent team. And then the wild cards, the Yankees and Athletics. The Athletics have been a surprise this year. The Yankees are the Yankees. They've got all sorts of talent. So my guess, if I have to give you a final 4, I'm going to go Cubs and Rockies, and then I'll go Astros and Red Sox.
Kind of sticking on that Cubs topic, I know we got a lot of students here on campus who are big Cubs fans. Do you think they have enough quality arms in that rotation in the bullpen to get it done? And kind of going off of that, with Jose Quintana, why has he was so dominant with the White Sox, and it seems like he just can't get anything going with the Cubs. Do you see why that might be the case? I mean, is Don Cooper part of that equation on why it just doesn't seem to be putting together for him?
Quintana's been, he's been okay. I think he's been, like, yesterday, he pitched well yesterday. Just pulling up his number, 6 2/3, 3 hits, 7 strikeouts, and 2 walks. So he didn't give up any runs. So that's more the Quintana we're used to. His ERA is right around 4, which not awful, not great.
Right.
That's doable though. I think their bullpen is stronger than the rotation. I don't know what they're going to get out of Kyle Hendricks this year. I don't know what they're going to get out of Jose Quintana. Excuse me, but you do know what they're going to get out of Cole Hamels and John Lester. And I think their bullpen is what's strong enough. If CJ Edwards is fine, they'll be in a lot better shape. But we don't know about Brendan Morrow if he's even going to pitch, so that's a question mark too. If they have everyone healthy, the Cubs are definitely the favorite in the National League. That's really all there is to it.
Yeah.
But with all teams, they are dealing with injuries, so I don't know if they're. That's what makes the National League so wide open, in my opinion.
Yeah. All right, last baseball question, then we'll transition over to football. But just curious on your opinion, there's been a lot of talk in the news about automated balls and strike calls and where we go with technology as far as getting rid of the umpires behind the plate. What's your stance on this? Are you more of the traditionalist, or do you want to see them use more technology?
That's funny. I've never actually really thought about this. I played, baseball growing up. I played baseball in college at Indiana Wesleyan. So, I mean, I've played baseball my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
It's really tough. I love all sorts of technology, but at the same time, replacing a home plate umpire seems like it'd be a terrible idea.
Yeah.
I really don't know. It's so tough. You'd think the replay system, with plays at bases would help everything. That's done. I guess it's part. There's still been some issues, but man, I'm gonna have to say no. I don't want it.
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. I feel like that it's just gonna look too weird almost. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
What are they gonna do? Set up a robot in the back, or how does that work?
Yeah, they're talking about how keep the umpire back there, but have a mic in his ear or something in his ear that the robot tells him strike or ball, and then he just relays it. I don't see any umpire on the planet that's gonna want to stand there and do that.
Right. That sounds so terrible.
Yeah. All right, so let's talk Purdue football. I know you were there for game 1. Let's just go basic. Are you more on the David Blau side, or are you more on the Elijah Sindelar side, or do you like this whole mix of the two?
The 2 quarterback system is the worst thing ever.
Okay.
It's not Kelly Bryant and Hunter Lawrence at Clemson.
Uh-huh.
It's not Tua and Jalen Hurts at Alabama. I mean, those situations work. It doesn't work with Elijah and David Blau. David Blau is a great leader. He's a great person. He is, in my opinion, he's not a Big Ten quarterback. I'm sorry.
Mm-hmm.
He possesses some things that Elijah doesn't. But I think they've just got to go with Elijah and not look back unless he really, really, really does terrible. Then you can put Blau back in. But I don't know. Switching things up is not really what I want to see.
Can you describe, you were on campus back in the days where Purdue football was not where it should be, and then you see Coach Brom come in, and he kind of brings in this new wave of new style. Can you describe the change in the buzz around this program, even with an 0-2 team that we are at the moment?
I'll go even further back. My parents, my grandparents, they all went to Purdue, so we've been John Purdue Club members since I've been alive in the 90s with Jim Coletto. Joe Tiller, when Joe Tiller came, Brock Speck's daughter was in my class. So, I've seen all of it. Tiller years, those were fun. And then I was a freshman at Purdue in 2005 when things started to go south a little bit. And then the Danny Hope and Daryl Hazel, it's just, things went from good to bad to worse. And then when Brom last year, I was back for a game against Illinois in 2017, and then coming back this year. Just seeing the crowd on that Thursday night game against Northwestern, that's the way it should be,
mm-hmm.
and that was awesome. But losing to Eastern Michigan is not how it should be. That's inexcusable. There's no excuse for losing to Eastern Michigan. And if Purdue's not careful, they're going to start the season 0-4 because Missouri's got a good offense. And I worked for Boston College last year, and Boston College is a real team.
Yeah.
They'll run up and down. A.J. Dillon will run up and down the field on Purdue if they don't get things going. An 0-4 start to the season. All the momentum that was built last year, gone just like that.
Mm-hmm. So you were here that Thursday night where Rondale Moore kind of introduced himself to the nation, and then we saw in the second half kind of he got double covered and was a no-show and really didn't do a whole lot last game. He's still a freshman, which is something we have to keep in mind here, but how good do you think this kid can be at Purdue?
I think he can be very good if he gets the ball. I don't know if he saw his Instagram post the other day. Something about this isn't exactly what it said, but it's very similar. He said something along the lines of he's trying, but his patience only goes so far, or something. Let me just look this up because this is kind of it's very interesting to read. He said, "I'm dedicated, but I'm running out of patience." 3 days ago. So, I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
he knows he's the best talent on that field. He should be getting the ball a lot. And I know, defenses dictate that. But at the same time, you got to try whatever you can to get the ball. I don't want to read between the lines too much, but I'm dedicated, but I'm running out of patience. That doesn't sound like he's in this for the long haul if things are going the same way they are. You know what I mean? So sky's the limit for this kid, but he's got to do a better job of getting him the ball. Can you imagine if he left? That would be terrible.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's one of the biggest fears around campus right now is just, the class coming in, recruiting class, it looks like one of the best we've seen in a long time.
Yeah.
And you
are
can't
they going to stay?
Exactly. You can't afford to lose them.
No, Brom's done such a great job recruiting his first full year that he's got all these players that Purdue hasn't seen. I mean, they've had a couple of 3 and 4 stars here and there, but they have not seen a complete class like this. I don't even know when. It's been such a long time.
So you're a TCU board operator. Do you do football games?
Yeah, so I do at IMG. I produce the games, cut the highlights, and all that stuff for IMG. So we got a big game Saturday night against Ohio State.
I was gonna say, you gonna be there for that?
We work out of the studio here in North Carolina, so I won't be at the game. But yeah, I'll be on the board for it and producing the game. It's gonna be. TCU's a good team. They got a nice dual threat quarterback, Sean Robinson. They've got Kavonte Turpin, whose name you'll hear this season, one of the best special teams players in the league or in the country. So, and then Coach Gary Patterson. I think he's the second longest tenured coach in football. There's in all of college football. So TCU's got a good program. It'll be a good test for him against Ohio State.
All right, I'm gonna give you 3 rapid fire questions, then we'll let you go here. So first. Best minor league ballpark food you've ever had? What's your go-to?
Well, see, that's tough because when I go as media, they give us food for free. So it's like, I'll tell you where the best food is in Charlotte, though. They've got like nice full spread. There are some places I went this year that didn't have anything. I got to have a slice of Papa John's pizza or something. But in Charlotte, it was good food in Charlotte. So I'll say, not to answer your question completely, but Charlotte has the best setup. How's that?
All right. Best minor league player you saw this year not named Eloy Jimenez?
I was going to say Eloy.
Yeah.
Can I say Kopech?
No, can't say Kopech. Somebody who's still down in the system right now.
I'm going to give you a pitcher and a hitter.
Okay.
Dylan Cease.
Okay.
And let me get a hitter. I'm going to say, when healthy, Mike Adolfo.
Okay, just a side note here real quick. Can you describe, around here we got the Aviators, but what was the atmosphere like at those Charlotte games this year with so many guys who could find themselves on the roster? That was almost like an MLB team in a way. Looking at some of those guys on that roster, it's were the crowds great? What was the atmosphere like at those games?
Charlotte led minor league baseball in attendance. Winston-Salem led high A in attendance. So there's your answer.
Yeah.
There were plenty of fans every single night. It was fun. I'd say 8 out of 10 people that were there had no idea who was who.
Right.
But at the same time, they came out and supported them, and they made money off it. So.
Mm-hmm. All right, last question. Game prediction: Purdue, Missouri. Who you got? Final score.
Well, Purdue's a 7.5 point underdog.
Right.
Man,
They stay within that, or is it going to be a blowout?
They're going to lose by 3 touchdowns if they play like they did against Eastern Michigan.
Mm-hmm.
If they play like they did against Northwestern, it'll be close. It's just now the problem is going forward is which Purdue team are we going to see? And that's going to be the question every week. Until they string together a couple wins here. Let's go Purdue 31, Missouri 28.
All right. I love it. That is Clinton Cole. Everybody go follow him on Twitter, CDCole55. Listen to his podcast. He's got a couple great things out. And follow Deep Dish West Lafayette here on campus. It's a great news site. Clinton, thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully we'll hear from you soon.
No problem, Matt. Thanks for having me.
All right, there he is, Clinton Cole. We'll be back right after this on Next Point Wins. All right, here to close up shop on Next Point Wins. Just got a couple minutes left on the show. Looking forward to another full weekend of football. Should be a lot of fun, and just hearing from Clinton, you can kind of hear a little bit of, I don't know if worry is the right word, but just concern in his